Hey y'all. So I told my wife I'd do this quick video on a very simple, cheap cup tisserie. I've built, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 of them, plus a couple of multi-turners, and they always seem to get better every generation. But this is a quick and simple one that I came up with that doesn't really cost a lot. The things that you're going to need is you're going to need the type of wood that you want to use, which for this instance, this is a 4-inch, a 1x4 poplar. I think a 4-foot piece of it's like $6 at Lowe's, so it's relatively inexpensive. Some of the basic things, we use a 3/4 PVC. Couple of different fittings I was going to show y'all. The one that I found works the best for the ones that I build are these little threaded ones, because it's got the flat end and then it goes onto the piece here and it just kind of screws in, makes it for a little bit easier maintenance. You also have these caps, which these work just fine. It's just you got to be able to find center on this or it kind of gets a little wonky. The other coupling pieces, your motor, the coupler, the couple of adapters, a pencil, 0.25 or a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, which when you order these motors off of Amazon, they come with the motor, the wiring, the coupler, the Allen wrench, this little wire connector. But what it doesn't come with the piece that connects into here, which is what this is. And at Lowe's, it is an M4 screw, and it comes in a pack of a couple of them, but it kind of looks like this, and that's the piece that screws into here, which y'all saw when the one that my wife was using, it slipped. Is because there was no Loctite on this, so you'll need to pick this up. Couple of paddle bits, which is going for making the holes through the wood. One is 1 1/8, and the other one is a 1/2 inch. Some clamps, some way to nail it together. You can use screws if you want to. That's the way the first one that I built was done. I just like using the finish nailer because it ends up looking better. A square to make sure that you get your cuts right, some wood glue, a drill, a way to cut it, which we happen to have a saw, but if you don't, a simple $8 or $9 hand saw with a box cutter would work just fine. And then a couple of things that I'll also show you. So the dimensions that I used for this is just something really basic. We actually went up a little higher from the initial one because my wife said that she wanted it so high up off the table, because if she puts something that has a handle on it, like a mug, she wants it not to be able to hit. So out of this wood, I've already cut it, so to make it kind of simpler, but what I did is I cut one section, which is 10 inches long, 3 which are 6 inches long, and they go for here, here, and one at the end, and I'll show you what I do with the one at the end. And then a 5-inch piece that goes on the top that just kind of gives it so you can put your drying rack stand on it. So those are the dimensions: 1 10-inch, 3 6-inch, 1 5-inch. Okay, so as you can see, I've got another set here that I've already cut, but what I've done was I've drilled the holes in it for the PVC pipe. So on the 3 6-inch pieces, what I did was I drilled a 1 1/8 paddle bit through 2 of them, so you can kind of see they mirror. And then on this one, I used the 1/2 inch paddle bit, and that is where this goes through. Originally, I used to do just these, but I found that finding the balance in between them was harder. So the PVC coming out would kind of tilt and make her epoxy run and stuff like that. So basically, the way that I did this is I marked it up. So I took this and I put the 1.1/8" paddle bit down, lined it up on the side, and I put it down, and I put a mark. So that mark that I put there was going to be where this center point was going to hit. So I measured out, drew with the speed square, I put it across and drew a line, and then measured from here to here, split the difference, and then drew a line down, put the paddle bit in, and drilled through. Now I have these 2 clamps that I used because I put them both together, clamped them to my table, and I drilled straight through both of them. If you do not have that, don't worry, because you can drill through one at a time. And then when you get to this one here, this is what I do when I do it, is I put this one on top, and it kind of gives that center hole. And then I start with this one so it hits center, and I just barely get that point to go through. And that gives me my mark, and then I can put the point of this one in that hole and then drill through, so it'll be all centered. So quick and simple. Now, the reason I have 2 of these is because what I do is at the very end of the 10-inch, I cut this off so that it gives it a cradle. So when the PVC is setting in there, depending on which pipe she has going through with the ball on it, it tended to weigh it down, and it would make a whole bunch of ugly noises and everything else. So I put this on here just to support this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a quick mark and just split this in half. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because all this is this piece right here setting in the groove. So I'm just going to cut that real quick. Don't mind the noise. So now this is a little cradle that this will set in to guide on to support the weight. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of put this thing together real quick, and I'm going to hook up my air nailer. And I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. And we're going to start assembly. So what I do first is I lay it out. So at the very back is going to be the smaller hole, then the complete one, and then this one that has the cradle. We're not going to worry about the 5-inch top yet, but that's coming up. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark this where we're going to get everything. And where's my tape measure? There it is. So we're going to mark this out where it says 5 inches. And then we're going to put our square on it. Now I put that line on there so it tells me exactly where these 2 pieces are going to go. One's going to go at the end. This one's going to go to the outside. If I didn't mark it, I wouldn't be able to get that on there correctly. So we just went ahead and marked it so we can get all done. Now, I have my wood glue. I've got my nailer. And like I said, you can use screws. You can use hand nails. Whatever you have, you can use. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put wood glue on the ends and get ready to nail it down. And it's just going to take a small amount of wood glue on the ends. And if you put a little bit too much and it squishes out, don't worry about it, because you can easily clean it up and it's not going to hurt anything. Plus this stuff is sandable, so you don't have to worry about it. So we're going to put the first one on. Just make sure it's flush at the bottom. Put a couple of nails in it. next one up, and remember to try and get your line where you made your mark, so when you put your top on, it's evened up. And then the very end, you're just going to put at the very end. Just put it all the way to the edge. And there's that piece. Then we're going to put a little bit of wood glue on the top and here. And then we're going to put the top on. Start with one side. Make sure it's flush. And square up this side. And there's the basic. So really quick and simple. And then the motor goes on in the back, which rides inside that hole. And as you can see, when the PVC goes in, it has this as the cradle. Okay, so when assembling the motor, it comes with a really tiny Allen key. And then the Allen wrench actually comes with it. And what it does is it screws into here and drops down inside that hole, and that hole is also threaded. So what you do is just start this little one into one of the holes. And then you line it up, and you can look on the other side where the hole goes through, and you can see where it lines up. And then you're going to tighten this one down. And it secures that to the motor itself. You're going to take the motor and the coupling you just installed and put it inside that small hole that you created. Now, just a suggestion, test fit this stuff, and if you have to, sand it down a little bit. You can use a Dremel or a file or a hand piece of sandpaper. Really doesn't matter. And then we're going to actually screw the motor to the turner. So we're going to put on our bit, and you can do this by hand or you can do it with a power drill, but just remember to push the drill bit out far enough so it'll miss the motor when you're screwing it down. I drilled a couple of pilot holes in this, so I had it lined up perfectly, and then just tighten it down, and now it is secured to the turner itself. Now, what you can do is you don't have to do much with these wires. I mean, it comes pretty self-explanatory. You've got two ends here, and you've got these two ends. Because this is a reversible motor, you don't have to worry about what gets hooked up to where. But you can use the connector that is supplied, and all you do is push down on one side, put it in there and let it go, and it holds it. And then the other side, you do the same thing. You can use wire ties, wire caps, and stick them on there and twist them together, whichever way you prefer. But usually what I do is I drill a hole in the back here and drop the wire down inside and run it in here, and then drill another hole at the bottom down here where the rest of it comes out, and then I just leave the other things attached to here, which, if you want to, this piece that comes with it actually has a small hole right there where you can actually drill it on the inside right here and secure it in place wherever you want it, which is pretty easy to do. You can actually even do that before assembling this. So, okay, so here comes the next part. So you have to find center on this cap or this cap. Okay, you can get either one. Sometimes you can even find the ones that fit on just right that are flat, but I haven't found any, so that's why I went to this. So what I did was I went through the hardware aisle and I found a washer that fits down inside, and you got to kind of tap it in there, and that gives me dead center through that washer hole that I can drill through to get the center to run the nut through that side. You can also do the same thing on this cap, is find a washer that fits inside that'll give you almost center, and then you can go from there. You can try and center punch it or drill through where you think center is, but just be careful, because if you're way off, it'll make the cup and everything else all wonky. So I already pre-did one, so the washer is already inside. I already drilled the hole. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our Allen bolt, the M4, and we are going to attach it to this coupling. Now, I'm doing this for demonstration purposes, but when you do it, make sure that you put Loctite on it when you finally get it to where you want it, because if you don't, your wife's going to be doing a live tutorial and her turner's going to stop, and then you're going to have to message her and apologize to her and all that good stuff. So just word to the wise. Put Loctite on it. So all I'm doing here is I'm going through with the Allen wrench, and I'm going to start it from the inside. And then I'm going to use the short side to actually physically tighten it up. The nut size on that coupling is a 10 millimeter. So if you get a 10 millimeter wrench and put it in there, it'll hold it in position so you can crank down on it and get it really, really tight. But for this purpose, I'm not going that tight. Next step, and as you can see, we're all put together pretty much. Next step is the PVC piece. So the PVC piece is going to go inside so we can get our length that we want to come out. What we want to do is we want to keep the coupling close to this end. So let me put this coupling on the inside. And again, I'm not cranking this down. This is for demonstration purposes. So then we're going to put the pipe on. So the next thing we're going to do is we've got the fitting that's going to go on the end. So we're going to measure and find out where this needs to go. So if you're looking at this coupling, you can see where these little ridges are. That's about halfway from where it's going to set. So if we go and put this on there, we can see that ridge, and then we can put a small mark. It doesn't have to be perfect, just close. So we can put a small mark on the PVC right there so we know where to cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it real quick. So we've got our small piece that's going to go inside, that's going to go into that coupling, that's going to hold the outside coupling to where you're going to screw your pipe that you have your football on the end. So push it all together. Once you get everything fitted and tightened down, you can use whatever kind of glue you have on hand. Sometimes what I do is I will drill a hole through here and put a bolt or a screw or whatever just to hold it in place, so if I ever have to take it apart, it makes it easier for disassembly and putting it back together. You can't never line the holes back up, but it's a little bit easier. And then this piece going on, again, your coupling is going to come in and set. And all together, we bought a 6-pack of the motors that come with the couplings, the wiring, the wire tie, and everything else. And I want to say it was $30, a little over $30 from Amazon. You can buy them individually in 2 packs, whatever. The wood was about $6 for, you know, enough to probably do 1.5. The PVC couplings, you're talking about a couple of dollars a piece. And then, of course, if you've been making cups for a little while, I'm sure you've got 3/4 inch PVC from something that you can use and don't have to. And most of y'all will have the coupling pieces that go on to the end, which I know this is the wrong one. It's supposed to be the threaded one, but I was using it for demonstration purposes. So it can go on there as well. I would say all together you could probably build one of these simple turners for less than $15, and they work great. They reverse the motor both ways. Since I've put this on here, she's had less problems with the cups dripping, dipping down, epoxy running and stuff like that. So all in all, it's just a pretty simple design that you can build at home that's really, really easy. But all right, thank y'all for your time. I hope this helps.